Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where your curiosity really drives our exploration. You send us the sources, we dig in, and pull out the key insights.
Exactly. Helping you get informed quickly without feeling swamped by all the information out there.
And today we're jumping into something pretty fascinating, I think. It touches, well, basically every part of life, work, personal stuff, you name it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the power of attitude, mindset, how it shapes success. And our guide for this is Jeff Keller's book, Attitude is Everything. We got some excerpts shared by one of you listening.
Keller. Yeah, that book really gets into how our internal world impacts our external reality. We'll be looking at what makes people shift their perspective.
Right.
And also the practical things, the steps you can actually take to build a more, let's say, empowered mindset.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Understand the core ideas, how attitude really works behind the scenes, and find those actionable strategies you can use, maybe even starting today, to get more positive, more successful.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Maybe with the author himself.
Yeah, let's do that, because Keller's own story is quite central to the book, isn't it?
Yeah.
He wasn't always a motivational guy.
Not at all. He started as a lawyer.
And he wasn't happy about it. From his description, he talks about feeling just, well, wiped out. Physically, emotionally, the whole deal.
Yeah, the daily grind of it. He mentions the paperwork, the pressure. It sounds like it really got to him.
He even says he dreaded going to work, felt this heaviness and physical stuff too, headaches, stomach problems, things doctors couldn't really explain.
And a kind of spiritual emptiness, he calls it. Like things just lacked meaning.
That's a tough place to be. So what was the catalyst? What changed things for him?
It seems the big shift started around his 30th birthday, back in '85. He just had this moment, this realization that life had to be more than that. More than the misery he felt in his job.
And then something happened that night.
Yeah, almost like fate, He stumbled across an infomercial, late night TV.
An infomercial, seriously.
Seriously. For a home study course called The Mental Bank. And it was all about how our subconscious beliefs, the stuff we assume deep down, really control how much we achieve.
Wow. Okay, so that was the spark. But it didn't stop there, right?
No, that really opened the floodgates. He started just devouring motivational material, books by Napoleon Hill, Og Mandino, Norman Vincent Peale, Robert Schiller, too.
The classics.
Exactly. And audio programs, Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale. He said it was like finding water after being lost in the desert. He was just soaking it all up.
And did he notice changes quickly? Did this stuff actually work for him?
He says yes, almost immediately. Once he consciously started trying to shift his thinking from negative to positive, things started changing. He felt better physically, had more energy, and started hitting goals that seemed impossible before. People even told him he looked younger, more alive.
That's pretty compelling. And this whole personal turnaround eventually led him to switch careers entirely.
Absolutely. He'd spent years building that legal career, but he walked away. Became a motivational speaker, a writer, all because he lived through this transformation himself. He felt he needed to help other people, as he put it, wash their window.
The window analogy. That seems key to his whole philosophy.
It really is. He talks about attitude as this mental filter. It's how we see everything. And he makes that classic distinction. Optimism, seeing the possibilities.
Versus pessimism, focusing on the problems, the limits.
Right. And the analogy is that we all start out as kids with a pretty clean mental window. We're open, curious.
But then life happens.
Exactly. Negative experiences, disappointments. They start to kind of smudge up the glass, dirty the window. And you end up with a more pessimistic view. Like his own experience as a lawyer, feeling trapped, seeing only the negatives.
But the hopeful part is that we can clean it. That's the message.
That's the core message. We can choose a positive attitude. We can grab that mental squeegee, as you said, and clean things up.
Now, some people listening might think, okay, but life is hard sometimes. It's not about pretending problems don't exist, is it?
No, definitely not. And Keller is clear about that. Bad stuff happens. Challenges are real.
It's more about how you respond.
Precisely. Even when things are tough, that choice about your underlying attitude, your perspective, that's still yours. You still have control over that filter. And understanding this basic idea is really foundational if you want to get a handle on mindset quickly.
Okay, so we have this idea of the mental filter, the window. How does that actually impact what happens in our lives? This brings us to the human magnet principle, right?
It does. And this really leans on Earl Nightingale's famous phrase, we become what we think about. It's about this powerful link between our dominant thoughts and, the reality we end up living.
And Keller pulls in quotes from all sorts of people to back this up.
Yeah, it's quite a collection. You've got Napoleon Hill, what the mind can conceive and believe the mind can achieve.
Right.
Biblical quotes. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Emerson. A man is what he thinks about all day long. Even Henry Ford.
Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. They all point to the same fundamental idea. It suggests this isn't just some new age concept, but something people have observed for centuries. Maybe it's about the intensity too, the emotion behind the thought. What do you think?
That makes sense. A fleeting thought probably doesn't have the same pull as a deeply held, emotionally charged belief. And it's about sustained focus too, isn't it? He gives that example of Fred.
Right, Fred and his income. If Fred consistently, deep down, thinks he's a $30,000 a year kind of guy.
Then that's likely what he'll attract. Opportunities, actions that match that.
Pretty much. He becomes, like Keller says, a human magnet for circumstances that fit that $30K level. But just wishing for more isn't enough.
The key is the belief. Believing you can actually do it or achieve it.
Exactly. Fred might want $50,000, but if he doesn't truly believe he's worth it or capable of earning it, he probably won't take the right actions or even see the opportunities.
So if he does believe it, if he focuses on $50 and truly feels he can get there,
then he's much more likely to, make the call, spot the opening, take the necessary steps. The belief drives the action.
Okay, but how do you change those deep beliefs? It's not always easy just to decide to think differently.
No, it takes conscious effort. Keller suggests starting with awareness. Pay attention to your self-talk. That inner voice, what's it saying all day?
Often it's pretty negative, right? I can't, I'll fail, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So step 1 is noticing it. Step 2 is actively challenging it, replacing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations.
Telling yourself you are capable, you will succeed.
Right, and using positive language when you talk about yourself, your goals. But it's important to understand just repeating words isn't magic.
It has to feel real. You have to connect with it.
Yeah, the affirmations need to resonate, or at least feel like something you want to believe is true, even if it's a stretch at first. Otherwise, it can feel fake, almost counterproductive. Have you found that?
Definitely. Just saying things doesn't cut it. But when you find an affirmation that clicks, even a little, it feels different, more potent somehow. Repetition helps too, presumably.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. He also strongly recommends feeding your mind positive stuff regularly. Books, spiritual reading, biographies of successful people.
Immersing yourself in positivity.
Yeah, even just 15-30 minutes in the morning and before bed. And he's big on motivational audio programs too.
But we should manage expectations, right? This isn't an overnight fix.
Definitely not. Keller makes that clear. It takes work, commitment, patience. There will be setbacks. That's part of it.
But the positive belief system gives you resilience.
Exactly. It helps you get back up because you're always moving towards your dominant thought. So if you keep working on keeping that window clean, those positive thoughts start to win out over time.
Okay, so thinking is powerful. Now let's talk about visualization, creating mental movies.
Right. This builds directly on the thinking part. Visualization is about deliberately creating these vivid inner pictures of what you want. Keller points to athletes.
Yeah, top athletes do this all the time, right?
Yeah,
Mentally rehearse it.
They run the perfect race, the perfect game, the perfect routine in their head over and over before they even compete.
Feeling the success.
Exactly. And Keller's point is, this isn't just for superstars. We all visualize constantly, often without realizing it.
Since we were kids.
Yep. And those mental pictures we hold about our relationships, our career, money, they're actively shaping our reality.
And sometimes those pictures are based on old stuff, maybe negative experiences, criticisms.
Right. And we might still be unconsciously replaying those old, unhelpful movies, which of course leads to results we don't actually want.
But the good news is we can change the channel. We can choose the movie.
That's the empowering part. You are the director of your own mental cinema.
He has that little exercise, doesn't he? Imagine an ice cream cone, then a pink elephant.
Yeah. It just shows you instantly that you can control the images in your mind. You can conjure them up, change them.
So even if you can't change the past,
You can change your interpretation of it, and you can create new, positive movies about the future. Like, instead of dwelling on a presentation that went badly.
visualize the next one going brilliantly, confidently, successfully.
Exactly. But again, like positive thinking, you need to do it consistently. It's mental rehearsal.
Doesn't need to be super detailed.
It helps. Keller suggests relaxing, maybe closing your eyes, and really engaging your senses in the mental movie. What do you see, hear, smell, even taste or touch?
And add emotion.
Definitely. Feeling the positive emotions associated with achieving the goal makes the visualization much more powerful. Connect the image with the feeling.
What if the pictures are kind of fuzzy, though, especially at first?
He says that's totally normal. Don't worry about it. Like any skill, it gets clearer with practice. Just keep doing it.
He shares some great stories about this. Jim Carrey and the check.
Yeah, writing himself a check for, what was it, $10 million. Post-dated it, carried it around, visualized cashing it.
And then he actually got paid that amount for a movie around that time.
It's a famous story. It shows how a tangible reminder, combined with strong belief in visualization, can really focus the mind. He also mentions using signs, like his friend running for judge putting up Judge Robert Jones signs.
Conditioning the subconscious.
Right, but he warns about the downside too, negative visual reminders, like angry bumper stickers or something.
So it works both ways. If you don't consciously create positive images, the negative ones might take over.
Exactly, you gotta be proactive with your mental movies.
Okay, thinking, visualizing, very internal. Now, commitment. This feels like the bridge to taking action in the real world.
It really is. Keller argues that when you make a true, solid commitment to something and you're genuinely willing to do whatever it takes, within reason, things start to shift.
You start attracting what you need. People, resources.
That's the idea. It solidifies that mental picture we talked about. Your mind locks onto it and starts working, maybe subconsciously, to make it happen.
But you don't always need the full plan right away.
That's a key point. You don't have to know how you'll get there initially. Make the commitment, focus the mind, and often the steps, the opportunities, they start appearing.
He gives his own example, right? Starting to write articles just because he wanted to share.
Yeah, no big plan, just commitment to sharing his message. Then, bam, a chance meeting leads to his newsletter. Someone shows up with the exact skills he needed.
It seems almost magical sometimes.
Yeah, it can feel that way, but Keller's also realistic. Commitment doesn't mean it's easy street.
Obstacles will still pop up. Mistakes happen.
Absolutely, and that's where persistence comes in, sticking with it even when it's tough. He quotes Churchill, never, never, never give up.
And James J. Corbett, a boxer.
You become a champion by fighting one more round. It's about that tenacity.
He tells the story of David Baldacci, the novelist. That's incredible commitment.
Isn't it? Years learning the craft, writing, while holding down a demanding lawyer job, raising a family. 5 years just mastering the basics before he even finished a book.
That's dedication, not just interest.
Exactly. Keller makes that distinction. One person with a commitment is worth more than 100 people who have only an interest.
Powerful. And the story about Jerry and the Disney Art Gallery, that shows decisive action based on commitment.
Right, taking a bold step because the commitment was real. And then there's Benjamin Roll passing the bar exam on his 14th try.
At age 74, that's just, wow. What incredible persistence.
It defines true commitment, doesn't
I
it?
mean-
Doing whatever it takes, no excuses, no built-in quitting point.
He warns against that half-hearted approach where you kind of decide in advance when you'll give up if it gets too hard.
Yeah, that just sets you up for failure, he argues. Real commitment doesn't have an escape hatch.
So, okay, we're committed, we're visualizing, we're thinking positively, but then inevitably problems arise, things go wrong. What then?
This leads to another really valuable perspective, turning problems into opportunities.
Instead of just seeing them as roadblocks.
Exactly. Keller challenges us. When something goes wrong, don't just react with frustration, although that's natural at first.
Feel the feeling, but
Then, consciously look for the benefit. Ask, what's the lesson here? Is there an opportunity hidden in this problem?
because sometimes the problem forces you to make a change you wouldn't have otherwise.
Precisely. It might highlight something that needs adjusting, or push you onto a different, maybe better path, like losing a job, which feels terrible.
But then leads you to start your own successful business, that kind of thing.
Or not getting the house you thought was perfect, only to find something even better later. It happens all the time.
He shares some really moving stories here too. Sharon, who's diagnosed with a brain tumor.
And found unexpected gifts in the experience. Community support, a new perspective, stronger bonds with loved ones. It's about finding the positive, even in really tough situations.
And Dave Bruno, the entrepreneur who faced job loss and a bad accident.
And turned it into creating his success gold cards. It shows incredible resilience, finding opportunity in adversity.
Even Keller's own business example, the bad screen printer, wasn't a disaster in the end.
No, it forced him to find better suppliers, better solutions, improved his business.
And he looks back at his own unhappiness as a lawyer.
And sees it now as a blessing in disguise. It pushed him towards the work he finds truly meaningful.
So the invitation for us, for you listening, is to maybe look back at some tough times in your own life.
Yeah, reflect. Can you see now how maybe something good came out of it? A lesson learned, a new direction taken?
He lists 7 specific ways adversity can actually help us.
Right, let's see. It gives perspective,
Teaches gratitude, makes us stronger,
encourages change and action, teaches lessons,
opens new doors sometimes.
and builds confidence when we overcome it. It's a really useful framework,
It reframes challenges completely, not as things meant to destroy us.
but as things potentially there to serve us, to teach us, to help us grow. If we approach them with the right attitude, with an open mind, looking for that benefit.
So pulling this all together, the core message from Keller is crystal clear.
Mhm.
Your attitude is incredibly powerful. It's not passive. It actively shapes your life, your success.
Absolutely. We've seen how positive thinking acts as that filter, how our thoughts can be like magnets, how visualization directs our focus and actions.
The huge impact of real commitment and the potential to find opportunity even in problems.
And these aren't just ideas, they come with actionable things you can do. Being aware of your self-talk, creating those mental movies, deciding to truly commit, looking for the upside in challenges.
It really makes you think about your own mental window, doesn't it? What's your typical self-talk like? What images do you play in your head? How committed are you really to your goals?
Yeah, and it invites some self-reflection.
So maybe here's a final thought for you to take away and chew on. Pick one area of your life. Just one. Where would you really love to see a positive change, a breakthrough? Now, based on everything we've talked about today from Jeff Keller's work, what's one small, deliberate action you could take, maybe even right now, today, to start shifting your attitude in that specific area? Just one small step.
It's worth considering how these principles land with you, with your own experiences. Maybe even to go back to the source material you shared with these ideas fresh in your mind.
Thank you so much for sharing the material that sparked this discussion, and thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the power of attitude.
Yeah, great stuff to think about. Until next time.